She's kind of excited this morning, feeling on top of the world. Yeah, why? Obvious. We have made it through another week. Yes, sir-ree. And we're thankful for that. Not only that, but hey, being a Friday, you got the weekend to look forward to. So come on, perk up, man, perk up. Be thankful, be thankful. My dear friends, I'm George Grant saying good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Gudday Grenada on this, the fourth day already. Fourth day of October 2019. It's going to be a good morning. It's going to be a good weekend. Yeah. Let's be thankful to be alive. Let's take a look at the rundown. You know, boy, I was so amazed at the reaction yesterday to that piece we played about the St. Lucian youngster who had been shot in the United States. I think it was in Dallas. And during the session yesterday, we showed you the video of a response following the verdict from the brother of the young man who was shot. He was actually in the courtroom on the bench speaking to the person who pulled the trigger. It was very passionate, and I believe that it moved a lot of people. And then at the end of that piece, geez, what was even more overwhelming was when he asked the judge if it would be okay to go over and give this young lady a hug, which the judge consented to. He did. That brought tears to the eyes of a lot of people. Now, during the segment yesterday, one of you, our dear friend Margaret suggested, you know, hey, that's all well and good, but there's another side to the story. Yeah. And she suggested that we should look at the mother's response, the mother of the victim. She spoke with the press right after the verdict. And Margaret was kind enough to send me a link. And I pulled that video down last night. Young mom, she was absolutely right. There are many sides to the story. And this morning, you're going to see the mom's side. You know, as I assessed both of those videos last night, I'm very proud of the comments which came from the lips of both parties. Both parties. Yeah. So we're going to run that by you in just a wee bit. Obviously, we do have the national report, and then, hey, man, it's Friday morning. So I guess right now he's probably in the process of doing his nails and putting on his earrings and makeup and all that stuff. And Mr. Pitt should be joining us at the bottom of the hour, okay? So that's our rundown for this morning. I haven't been ignoring you guys. I just wanted to get that out of the way there. Okay, now let's take a look at what's cooking here this morning. First of all, our winner this morning is Hazel. Second, Peter Bishop. Third, Theorello. Kipling Francis is fourth. And Benedict Cador says, fantastic Friday. Margaret's also wishing you guys a happy Friday. Arthur Langine says, may you have an enjoyable weekend. Boy, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. I intend to spend some time in the kitchen this weekend. Got another recipe from Mags last night, man. George going ballistic in the kitchen this weekend. You just watch. You just watch. Ryan Jabon saying good morning, and John Nosinek saying good morning on Fantastic Friday. Oswald Lewis is also there. She's watching in Brooklyn. Oswald, she or he, I'm not sure, watching in Brooklyn. Nice and sunny this morning. Absolutely. Same thing here, man. It's like a carbon copy of what you got. Beautiful, beautiful skies. Okie dokie. So, now that we've taken care of the preliminaries, if you will, let's get down to business here. 5 minutes after the hour. Yesterday, we played you a very emotional piece in which Botham Jean, the brother of Botham Jean, forgave and hugged the cop who took his brother's life. For those of you who were not with us yesterday morning, here's a replay. And then I'm going to follow that up with a piece which shows the reaction of Botham Jean's, I keep mispronouncing that, Botham Jean's reaction. Take a look at this. First, Brent.
I don't want to say twice or for the 100th time what you've or how much you've taken from us. I think you know that. But I hope you go to God with all the guilt, the bad things you may have done in the past. Each and every one of us may have done something that we're not supposed to do. If you truly are sorry, I know I can speak for myself. I forgive you. And I know if you go to God and ask Him, He will forgive you. And I don't think anyone could say it. Again, I'm speaking for myself, not even bad for my family. But I love you just like anyone else. And I'm not gonna say I hope you rot and die just like my brother did, but I personally want the best for you. And I wasn't gonna ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you. Because I know that's exactly what both of them would want you to do. And the best would be give your life to Christ. I'm not gonna say anything else. I think giving your life to Christ would be the best thing that both of them would want you to do. Again, I love you as a person. And I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
All right, many of you saw that yesterday. Now, thanks to Margaret, I'm about to show you the mother's reaction shortly after what you just saw. Apparently, there was a television station carrying coverage of the verdict, the announcement of the verdict, and they joined the mother in progress. Take a look at this.
Is Botham Jean's mom? Is that it? Okay, Botham Jean's mom's about to talk.
Fantastic.
Country, changed my church, and I know that there are many people who stood with me and my family throughout this tumultuous journey. Yesterday, we saw the conviction of Amber Geiger, and today we heard the sentence of 10 years in prison. That 10 years in prison is 10 years for her reflection and for her to change her life. But there is much more to be done by the city of Dallas. The corruption that we saw during this process must stop. And it must stop for you. Because after now, I leave Dallas, but you live in Dallas. And it must stop for everyone. The contamination of a crime scene that we saw coming out of this case is one that must never happen again.
That's right.
The poor training or the poor use of what should have been training
That's right.
is what we see coming out of this case.
Yes.
That should never, ever happen again.
That's right.
Amen.
And if this was applied in the way that it ought to have been taught, my son would have been alive today. If Amber Geiger was trained not to shoot in the heart, my son would be standing here today.
He was no threat.
He was no threat
Shame.
to her. He had no reason to pose a threat to her because he was in his own apartment, in his sanctuary, in the place in which he paid a lot of money to be in. He paid rent to be there. He had every right to be there in whatever state he was in. Yet still, his privacy was violated.
Amen.
She intruded on him.
Yes, she did.
And that was not enough. She killed him.
That's right. Cold-blooded.
Yes, he did.
Cold-blooded.
Murder.
Our life must move on. But our life must move on with change.
That's right. You gotta fight first.
There's gotta be a better day. And that better day starts with each and every one of us.
That's right.
The city of Dallas needs to clean up inside.
Amen.
Right.
The Dallas Police Department has a lot of laundry to do. The Texas Rangers need to know who's on board. And every single one of you, citizens of Dallas and residents of Dallas, need to know what to do to get your city right.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We love you, Mrs. Allen.
Alrighty, folks, there you have it. Very articulate lady. And something I heard, but I don't think it was mentioned in either of these spaces. Amber's 10-year sentence makes her eligible for parole after 5 years, okay? So, yeah. Folks, just let me share some of the comments here because Peter Belfon says, in all of this, let God be praised. Anthony DeRigg says, Grenadians are forgiving people too. Some, not all. Forgave people who committed atrocities years ago. Right on, Anthony, right on, lest we forget. Ryan says the grieving process is so uniquely individualistic. True, Ryan. And Arthur Langine says, not me, and will never. You know, Arthur, that's sad. That's sad. I don't know if you are a Christian or not, but I know a lot of people who run around professing to be Christians and dispel every word of God. Enough said. Not going to go on. Whew. Ryan Jabon says, brothers, such heinous atrocities in Grenada cannot be erased from our souls. Nobody's asking you to erase, Ryan. I don't think Grenadians will ever forget what they went through 79, 83. Forgive? It's another story. It's another story. Peter Belfond says, touched by the loss of a son, this lady has been forthright. Absolutely, Pedro. Kipling says, yes, it's true. Police are trained to shoot at the biggest part. Yet the people they fight for time. Excuse me. Margaret says, that's right, she gets parole. Lest we forget, Amber Geiger got 10 years for killing a human being. A black man was recently sentenced to 45 years for killing a dog. Margaret, there are so many similar stories out there. Just last night, I was reading a few of them. You know, pathetic how unbalanced the legal system is. Maybe not the system, but those who implement the legal system, those who administer it. Yeah. The scales of justice, really? So says John. Yeah. Got some unbalanced scales out there, John. Really, really unbalanced. Pilgrims, 18 minutes after the hour. Georgie Porgy's running behind time. Let him take his little break here, and then we'll come back with the national report.
Hey, what? I just came from the land, and this sign here caught my eye. What's that sign about?
Someone must have asked Grenlec to move a pole. But you know, there's no space reserved on the side of the road for planting poles. So Grenlec has to get permission from landowners, and that can take a lot of time.
Oh, Grenlec asked me to help them contact my neighbor Ben about planting a pole on his land. But Ben passed away. His children own the land, but they all live abroad.
That's why Grenlec needs customers to inform them in writing at least 3 months in advance.
3 months? All that?
It seems like a lot. But think about the time it will take for Grenlec to find and get permission from all of Ben's children. And sometimes moving one pole requires you to move the pole before, the one after, plus the wires that support them on the ground. That means even more landowners to find and get permission from. Then Grenlec needs to schedule their teams and notify customers about any power outages.
Well, I need the pole on the farm moved, so I'm going to write Grenlec a letter now.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Ceremonial state opening of the third session of the 10th Parliament of Grenada to take place on Friday. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Thursday, October 3rd, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Governor General Dame Cecile Lagrenade will outline government's top priorities and plans to build on its current successes at the ceremonial state opening of the third session of the 10th Parliament of Grenada on Friday. The ceremonial state opening will take place at the Houses of Parliament at Mount Welldale, St. George's from 10 a.m. It will be broadcast live on the GIS Channel 22 and the GIS Facebook page. The Grenada government is reaffirming its commitment to reconstruct Bishop's College in Carriacou. Education Minister Honorable Emmeline Pierce says her government is committed to upgrading and enhancing educational institutions to ensure a better environment.
We know that Bishop's College, the situation there is not one that represents what our learning environment should be. But we have had a series of consultation with all of our stakeholders, including parents, including teachers and the principal and the wider community. So persons have been kept abreast as to what is happening. What is happening is that we have had significant delays on that project. However, noting the situation at that school, in July, August, we communicated with the school, that's during the vacation, identifying that there might be a section of the school where the situation is worse off, that we may need to relocate. And that is not a first time. There was a previous occasion when we had to relocate a section of that school. So we offered the same alternative because we were uncomfortable about the situation in that section of the school. The principal indicated that the management team of the school met. And with the knowledge that they have of the plans of the Ministry of Education, they felt that they would be more comfortable remaining on site. They gave us the assurance that the safety of the students would be considered and that they would make the necessary internal arrangements to facilitate school continuing at that facility. And I'm talking about the entire the student body.
Work on the school was scheduled to begin through a loan from the Caribbean Development Bank, but Minister Pierce says the project was further delayed due to modifications to the original design based on new requests recently made by the school's representatives.
They felt that the students would not be at risk, and I don't believe that the principal and staff would make a decision with the intention of putting the students at risk. So while we know that the situation is not ideal, it's not what we would want it to be, but they felt that this school term, they could facilitate teaching and learning in that environment.
She agrees that Bishop's College is in dire need of attention and government will remain true to its commitment.
Every effort from the end of the Caribbean Bank, from the Ministry of Works, from the Ministry of Education and the school, every effort has been made to ensure that we continue this process to get to the end. That being said, though, the last delay that we had on that project, that delay, I believe, came both from Caribbean Development Bank, the school, and I would add the Ministry of Education. And it's probably a delay that we would be happy we facilitated, and I'll explain why. When the first drawing went back to the bank asked the question, are you sure that in a secondary school, in a modern time, that you want to do one lab. Now, we were working with cost, right? And we said, okay, let us go back on the ground. Now, that requires an additional consultation and a process. So we went back on the ground. That is, of course, something no one would say no to. But in that process, the school identifies some additional things that they would want to see amended to the drawings. Now, that's a process. It's not like somebody just take a rubber and they rub it off and they make some changes. So the school was aware that there were some changes that they requested, some amendments that they requested to the drawings. And of course, they knew that we were working on those with the firm, the consulting firm that is engaged in that regard.
The modification to the original design of the new structure totaled $1.9 million. Minister Pierce says when that figure is added to the original cost, the refurbishment of the Bishop's College will cost the government much more than the repairs they did to other schools for the last 6 months. The drug squad of the Royal Grenada Police Force has come in for high praise from Prime Minister and the Minister for National Security, Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell. So far this year, the drug squad has seized more than 4,000 pounds of cannabis with a street value estimated at over 9 million EC dollars and close to 50 kilos of cocaine worth just under 5 million EC dollars. The unit has also been responsible for cash seizures of more than EC $155,000, as well as 4 firearms and 170 rounds of ammunition. At a special meeting with the officers this week, Dr. Mitchell said, and I quote, "I must commend you for the excellent work you have been doing. The impact of your work goes beyond fighting crime. It has implications for economic activity in the country," unquote. Dr. Mitchell says investors are influenced by the peace and stability of the places in which they choose to invest. And the fact that Grenada continues to enjoy a peaceful and stable climate increases the potential for sustained interest by investors. The Prime Minister and Minister for National Security also commented on the integrity of the officers. He said, and I quote, "There is a widely held view that the level of drug and criminal activity in a country has a direct correlation with the integrity of the police force. The perception is that where there is a lot of criminal activity, specifically a high incidence of drug trafficking, there is corruption in that country's police force. We cannot escape that perception. It is the harsh reality," unquote. This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Tune in to the Government Information Service from 10 a.m. on Friday, October 4th, 2019 for the ceremonial state opening of the 3rd session of the 10th Parliament. Governor General Her Excellency Dame Cécile Grenada will outline her government's top priorities and how it intends to build on its current successes. The ceremonial state opening will be brought to you live from the Houses of Parliament at Mount Welldale, St. George's. Friday, October 4th from 10 a.m. live on GIS Channel 22 and our Facebook page.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honourable Keith Mitchell has welcomed the new Principal Officer of the United States Embassy in Grenada, Mr. Carl Duckworth. During a courtesy call this week, Dr. Mitchell said government appreciates the continued U.S. presence in Grenada. Dr. Mitchell highlighted a number of areas where the U.S. can provide support. He identified economic empowerment of young people, security and the protection of borders, and the influx of Venezuelans in some countries, especially Trinidad and Tobago, as areas for potential cooperation. Noting the increased velocity of hurricanes being experienced, the Prime Minister cited climate change and disaster risk reduction as other important areas. Dr. Mitchell also used the opportunity to again express profound gratitude for the recent visit by the U.S. naval ship Comfort and the valuable contribution made to the health care of Grenadians. The Prime Minister underscored human-to-human contact and providing solutions to social challenges as an opportune way to improve relations. Mr. Duckworth, in his response, said he will work to enhance bilateral relations between Grenada and the United States. Finally, in the news, Grenada's Beekeepers Association is revamping its efforts to secure more funding and boost the apiculture subsector. For years, beekeepers have been individually promoting and marketing their products, but Minister for Agriculture, Honorable Yolan Bain Hosford, says the time has come for regrouping and better organization. The revitalization of the apiculture subsector has been placed high on the agenda of the Ministry of Agriculture as funding becomes more available from the international community and as the market for bees and honey continues to grow. During the government's weekly post-cabinet brief on Tuesday, Minister Bain Hosford said an office space will be available to beekeepers in Grenville. She encouraged them to get registered and join the efforts to boost the apiculture sector.
We have spoken to a lot of the beekeepers, and so they have formed themselves into an organized body now. We hope that an office can be open. We have an office space in Grenville. By the 15th of October, we hope to open up that office in Grenville so that all the beekeepers in Grenada can register. They can go there and register. We can have a list of all the beekeepers, their status, their productivity, what is happening to them, productivity-wise, and we can have a feel as to what they're doing, where their farms are located, and what are some of the problems that they're encountering. That would be the role of the association.
Grenada's apiculture sector has been supported for years by Argentina. That story just ended the national report for today, Thursday, October 3rd. Let's recap the top story. Ceremonial state opening of the third session of the 10th Parliament of Grenada to take place on Friday. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Well, folks, there he is. Take a look. Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt. He's all saddled up with his blue headphones this morning. And we'll be getting to him right after this.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
GRENLEC Community Partnership Initiative.
This is not the first time that GRENLEC, through the GCPI, has responded positively to TAMCC, and we are always appreciative for the support. TAMCC, like the GCPI, is geared to service the community. As a college, we cannot accomplish our mission of fostering Grenada's development through education without meaningful partnerships from other community members. GRENLEC has been a leader in this regard.
GRENLEC, energizing our community.
Well, well, well. A very good morning to you, Mr. Brian Pitt. And how art thou?
Good morning, George. Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Great, great, great. It's a great day, George.
Beautiful, beautiful. Did you make it to the beach this morning? I haven't been seeing you. Did you make it?
No. This week I was doing some road work.
You what?
I was doing some road work, walking on the road.
Okay. Well, Mr. Pitt, I'm going to begin this morning by saying to you, sir, what's up your sleeve on this gloriously beautiful Friday morning?
George, I want to begin this morning on a very happy and pleasant note. I want to wish Karani James well. He is running this tonight in the finals of the 400. And I believe that Karani stands a very good chance of gold.
We all do.
I say this because Karani James is running with a spirited mind. And if I know that kid well, he will probably want to win this one for his mom. Who passed away recently.
That's right.
So I have great faith that he will be successful and we will be celebrating gold.
Okay. Couldn't agree with you more.
George, the name Tobias Clement.
What a contrast from Karani James to Tobias Clement. Oh, couldn't you have done it in steps?
Well, one running on the track and one running somewhere else or from something else. So everybody's running.
Okay.
George. Now, if I know my constitution a little bit, I think there are certain privileges that go along with being the leader of the opposition. So if Tobias Clement wanted to fuel his political career, wanted to work very hard, he could very easily just cross the floor and become the leader of the opposition. And with that, I believe, George, comes the appointment of 3 senators, etc., etc. And I think there's a budget also for the leader of the opposition to run an office. Yes, George?
Yes, sir.
So when I listen to the debate that is happening, it reminds me that over time, a number of people have left the new National Party, supposedly for greener pastures. But none of them have ever said or have been asked the question whether or not they would work for a corrupt administration. Not accusing anybody of anything. And if I recall correctly, none of the people who have left have had anything bad to say about the new National Party.
Well, that's not perfectly true. What about Terry Forrester? He ranted and raved for a long time.
Well, Terry Forrester was making a lot of noise, but I don't know that there is content in the noise that he's making. For example, George, there was a debate happening, I believe it was on your program, if not your program, some other program, whether or not you can work for a corrupt organization and not be corrupt. Do you remember that conversation, George?
No.
And I think it went, I think it was on another radio station, George, whether you can work for a corrupt organization and be corrupt. And the argument that Terry put forward was that you could work for a corrupt organization and not be corrupt. And I buy that. But nobody has asked Terry why or if the organization you work for was corrupt. And if it was, what does he know about it? When did he know about it? And how was that corruption manifested? Are you following me, George?
Yes, sir. I'm with you. And a lot of people have been asking the question, how come he managed to remain with them for so long without saying anything?
Well, you see, and I heard the argument that how can a lawyer not defend a guilty client, etc., etc. That's nonsense. If you're working for a corrupt organization, you must know whether they're corrupt or not. And by your own admission, you are saying that you can work for a corrupt organization and not be corrupt, which means that you knew something about the day-to-day activity of that organization.
Mm-hmm.
Now, George, I don't know over time whether or not anybody who has left the New National Party has had anything negative to say about the New National Party. And I think that has to do with loyalty. If I'm not mistaken, everybody and Dr. Mitchell might be demanding loyalty above your content to produce in the case of the New National Party. Now, once you're loyal, George, certain things go along with being loyal. You turn the other cheek, you look the other way, just to continue to be loyal. Am I making a point here, George?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Now, so if Tobias Clement is in disagreement with the New National Party, all he has to do is alert the Governor General that he is no longer a member of the party and that he would like to take up the position of the leader of the opposition. I don't know what the protocol involved in that would be, but it will complicate things a little bit because the three sitting senators now represent the NDC, unless he wants to join the NDC. Yes, George? The politics is going to become very interesting and complicated as we move forward here. Because I suspect, with the rumblings that I'm hearing, that there'll be some more people that are disenchanted with the way things are going with the New National Party.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all must reserve the right to ask them about this corruption question, whether or not they know of, when they know of, and what did they know of the organization, and whether or not it was or is corrupt. Yes?
Yes.
Because if I'm not mistaken, George, corruption costs a lot of these countries a lot of money.
Absolutely.
I think it's a way that a lot of countries are having difficulty right now growing. It's affecting growth. It's affecting economic growth. Because somebody has to pay for some of these transgressions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, George?
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to your program last night, George, Make We Chat. And I asked myself the question, what do we know about our CBI program? What do we know about our CBI program? Now, Dominica is going through some serious challenges, and some other islands have been going through challenges as to what's happening to those funds, how are they being used, and are they being used for the development of the country, or are they being used for political advantage?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, George?
Mm-hmm.
I am learning, for example, that I always thought there was an agent, but now I understand there's an agent and there's a marketing agent. Because I asked the question, how can an agent access funds from the CBI? And I'm told that an agent can't access funds from the CBI, but a marketing agent can. Do we know where all these funds are going? Now, if I'm not mistaken, we passed a legislation not too long ago that allows for a lot of secrecy in that program. Yes, George? And if what they're finding now in Dominica is problematic to a lot of these other countries, I think we need to know a little bit more about the program. Otherwise, it can come back to haunt us, given the Dominica experience. Yes, George?
You know, I'm listening to you and at the same time saying to myself, you know, this problem seems to be endemic. It's not just Grenada, not Dominica, but it's happening elsewhere around the region as well. And the question that's being asked is, how do you address it, sir? How? You know, we've heard rumblings that the CBI program itself is in jeopardy and could eventually fall apart because of pressures from some of the international agencies. But that's yet to be seen.
Yeah, but you see, George, we have bought into the idea that somebody buys a passport and those funds go to development of projects. But is that all?
No.
I mean, is some of those funds going towards future political campaigns? And in the case of Dominica, building houses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can give a political advantage to the party in power. Yes? Yeah. And so we need to find out a little bit more about this program, how it works, how much money is in there, because as I understand it, it's a cash cow. And it might be around for a little while. And if it is a cash cow, it can severely influence elections as we move forward. Yes, George?
Yeah. All right, Mr. Pitt. What is the difference between the agent and marketing agent that allows the marketing person to have access to funds, unlike the agent? That's a question being posed to you right now by Margaret in New York. She was on the program last night.
I am told that an agent solicits somebody who wants to buy a passport. A marketing agent can also solicit somebody who wants to buy a passport, but could have access to the funds for a project that they might be included in. So they could solicit you, George, to buy a passport, and you might want to build a hotel in Grenada. And as a marketing agent, I can be part of your project in order to build that hotel. I stand corrected.
Okay.
But somebody needs to explain.
Okay. We'll have to try and get an answer to that one for you, Patsy. Brian, before we start running out of time here, I sent you an audio clip last night. Have you had a chance to listen to that? One Mr. Kennedy Budlau?
Yes, I did, George, several times. And I note that audio clip is really talking about people who have gone rogue.
No.
Which means they've gone rogue, they've done something wrong, they're embarrassing the political party, but they still remain loyal. I go back to that question, George. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're loyal to me. So the two gentlemen in question of that audio clip remains loyal to the party. And I think Mr. Budlau will agree with me if that is what keeps them in the position that they're in. Which means that loyalty is the most important issue to the leadership of this particular political party. Yes, George?
Okay, sir. Your opinion. Respected.
My opinion. Well, I have no other explanation why two people who would be in the headlines for so long on issues that could embarrass the party is still practicing in their position. I mean, one is a junior minister, one is still on a radio station.
All right.
Yeah?
Mr. Pitt, let's now turn our attention to something I know that was like a thorn in your flesh for a long time, but I haven't heard you mention anything about it in recent times, the insurance fiasco, the CLECO insurance fiasco. There was a meeting here just a couple of weeks ago, I think. Dr. Patrick Antoine was here, along with some other people, looking into ways to help you guys recoup your money. Were you at that meeting?
No, George. Let's not mix me up with those people who had extra money to invest and invested it to get 8%. Those are people who had extra funds to invest, George, and invested it in TICO or British American to get a higher rate of interest than the bank was charging, was paid. My issue, George, had to do with Hurricane Ivan, an insurance company that went belly up because they did not buy enough reinsurance. Two different scenarios, George. So my claim was not satisfied by this insurance company who went belly up, even though that insurance company was in violation of the laws that govern the practicing of insurance. Completely different thing, George, to CLICO and British American.
My apologies.
Apology accepted, George.
How are you doing at recouping your funds?
We, all 71 of us, do not stand a chance, I was going to say hell, but let's leave it there, of recovering those funds. We are out of that money. We had to find ways of fixing our houses. It doesn't look as though there will be any compensation anytime soon. And the person involved in that insurance company that went belly up, George, is now an executive member of the New National Party. We raise our answers, George.
Yeah. At least you're
But
still.
let me make a couple of observations before we close, George. This bus issue, and the bus that went over in the Carnage recently. Yes, I understand the police is now talking about how can we examine those buses on a regular basis to make sure that they're working properly. And someone pointed out to me, George, that all the new buses in Grenada right now have a little hole, two little holes on each side of the bus for a window. In other words, if one of the new buses went over into the Carnage, it would be almost impossible for people to come out of the bus because of the size of this little hole that people have to breathe out of. Yes? George?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So maybe we should take a look at the buses that we know imported, and whether or not escaping from those buses could be made a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
The second issue, George, is something that has come to my attention recently. It has to do with drugs in Grenada, George. And I say drugs, I'm talking about legitimate over-the-counter drugs that people buy when they're sick. There have been several recalls recently, George, on blood pressure medication. Yes, George?
Mm-hmm.
There have been several recalls on blood pressure medication. And I am finding out recently, George, that the generic blood pressure medications that are being recalled has caused a spike in the price of the existing medications on the market that has not been recorded. You're shaking your head, George, like you have experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
And in a conversation with a doctor recently, he said to me, but Brian, this is immoral. And I had to agree. And I asked myself the question, now who is monitoring the price of drugs being sold in our pharmacies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir?
No comment.
No, I raised enough answers this morning, George. And it's a major concern because sick people have a cost associated with them getting better. And if those people control the tablets that can keep us well, raising the price simply because of supply and demand, there's something immoral about that.
Yeah, agreed. And life goes on.
Pardon me?
I said, and life goes on. We just don't have the monitoring capacity. People get away with murder in this place. They do.
And that's unfortunate, George. There's a whole Ministry of Health that should be aware when a drug is recalled. And when a drug is recalled, you have to monitor the situation.
Yeah.
I am sure there are people in Grenada now taking drugs that have been recalled.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason for recalling some of those drugs, George, is that there are chemicals in some of them that cause cancer.
That's right. That's right. All right, Brian, listen, one more thing before you go.
Yes.
The Integrity Commission. Did you hear their statement?
No.
Did you? He takes a deep breath. Did you read their statement this week?
No, but I heard I should read it.
Yeah.
I will read it. You know, a lot of these organizations that function in Grenada that's supposed to help with governance, George, are doing a lousy job at helping to improve governance in these countries. And I don't know when it would end, because a lot of these people don't seem to be ethical.
Say that again?
A lot of people who head these organizations
do
not seem to be ethical.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. I am done, George.
You're done. You're like Alan. I'm done.
I am looking forward to Karani's race this afternoon.
Okay.
And celebrating afterwards. But I think we're gonna get there.
All right. So you're going to have a joyful weekend, sir. Mr. Pitt.
Yes, I will.
On that note, some sad news. Did you hear about the passing of Dr. Trevor Friday?
No.
Well, I see a string on Facebook here. Apparently, he passed away earlier on today.
Oh my goodness.
And now he's been ailing for some time.
My sympathy to his family, and I saw one of his sons yesterday and extended sympathy to him. Trevor has been battling for the last few weeks since Carnival. I know it's interesting that Trevor, the musician that he is, and his love for music, I understand that he was going home from Soca Monarch when this incident occurred. So I believe that Trevor would have enjoyed his last days with the music, which I think if you gave Trevor a choice of being a doctor or being a musician, he'd probably choose being a musician.
Yes.
Yes, he loved his music.
May his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace. I will miss a very good one.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Pitt, thank you very much as always for your Friday morning sojourn, and we wish you a wonderful weekend. See you next week.
Good night, good day, George.
Good night. Hello, Brian.
No, if it's night, I'll miss the race. Good day.
Take care, buddy. Okay, there he goes, Mr. Brian Pitt on a Friday morning, folks. Quick little breaky here, and then we're going to come on back and wrap it up.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to Grenlec's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call Grenlec at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Folks, time now for a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. You know, last night when these words were given to me by the Holy Spirit, I didn't have a clue that we would be having the sort of discussion that we did this morning. But this is just another example of where the Spirit of God works. Today's passage comes to you from the book of Micah, Micah chapter 7, verses 3 to 7. Which says, both hands are skilled in doing evil. The ruler demands gifts. The judge accepts bribes. The powerful dictate what they desire. They all conspire together. The best of them is like a briar, the most upright, worse than a thorn hedge. The day God visits has come. The day your watchmen sound the alarm. Now is the time of your confusion. Do not trust a neighbor. Put no confidence in a friend. Even with the woman who lies in your embrace, guard the words of your lips. For a son dishonors his father. A daughter rises up against her mother. A daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the members of his own household. But as for me, I watch and hope for the Lord. I wait for God my Savior. My God will hear me. Micah 7, 3 to 7. Peter Balfon says, integrity and morality are not booming as the economy. Therefore, talking about the Integrity Commission means you must have real patience and guts as you sift through the rubble of a decaying society and administration to find something constructive. He also closes by saying, powerful indeed, George. That's God's doing, and as well. And Ryan says, thank you, Gigi. Blessings. My dear friends, on that note, Georgie Porgy's going to hightail it out of here with best wishes for a wonderful weekend. Yes, I really want you guys to have a great weekend. First weekend in October. Yeah, man. And by the way, Sunday morning, be sure to join us here. And we'll be back on Monday morning, God's willing, 9 o'clock, to begin another week of Gudday Grenada. God's blessings.